Lulu Rex. It's my channel. I am Lulu. Shocker, I know. So I have been postponing this for a while, and I thought if I don't do it now, there will always be a reason to postpone. So this will be a mess. My bookshelves are a mess. My hair is a mess. This will probably never see the light of day, and if it does, it will probably be deleted very, very soon. So I think there's nothing to lose here. I was thinking I could talk about the books I've read in August. So I'm not like the best reader, so why am I here? I know, that's a good question. I just read 5 books in August. I read The Familiar Dark by Engel. I read Beartown by Fredrik Backman. I read Radio Silence by Oseman. And I read, 13 Reasons Why by J. Usher. I know, not a new one at all. And I also read Beautiful World, Where Are You by Rooney. It was a pretty good reading month. I'm very much a mood reader, so I have like a lot of books I'm reading at once, and it kind of makes sense that I would enjoy the ones I finished, because those are the ones that I usually like. I read like a lot at the same time, very slowly, and then suddenly I grab onto one and I just can't put it down. I don't do a lot of like hate reading, thankfully, because that kind of killed my love for books for a while. So I thought, why not enjoy it if it's something I love? So Fredrik Backman, for example, Beartown, I loved it. I love him as an author in general. He's very good. His plots sometimes are like not the main point. In this case, it's different because Beartown, I mean, it's not just plot, but the plot is very important. Like the whole thing with the town and the importance the town gives to the sport, and how he shows that through multiple POVs and the little phrases that he spreads out throughout the text, so you can in a way understand every single character. That is amazing. I actually have a quote here that stood out to me. There are so many. I mean, in every Backman book you will find a lot. One that is actually shorter, but I think shows perfectly what he tries to convey, at least so we understand the gravity of the sport in this town. The only thing the sport gives us are moments, but what the hell is life, Peter, apart from moments? And it's a very interesting, especially in this town, sports is not just moments, it's also a possible regrowth, because it's a town that's dying, losing people, losing jobs. So the sport could give the town a lifeline. It's understandable in that way, the amount of passion and gravity they give this sport. Though, I mean, sport is given a lot of importance in a lot of places that aren't necessarily dependent on that to survive. But it's a very interesting analysis on human emotion and how we hold on to things to find meaning somehow in this beautiful life. Speaking of, there are a few existential books in my collection. I kind of like to be every once in a while like left on the floor crying, having an existential crisis. I think it's necessary every once in a while, at least to like organize your priorities. So the longest one, which I love and I will read because I would never remember it. All adults have days when we feel completely drained, when we no longer know quite what we spend so much time fighting for, when reality and everyday worries overwhelm us, and we wonder how much longer we're going to be able to carry on. The wonderful thing is that we can all live through far more days like that without breaking than we think. The terrible thing is that we never know exactly how many. I love that. I know it's a little bit dark, but you will find that the darkest things are the things I enjoy the most. What that says about me, I don't know, or maybe I don't want you to know. speaking of dark, the familiar dark by Engel, I loved it. I mean, the plot itself is interesting. It's like a basic premise, a little bit a la Taken. Of course, it's not like that. But it's a mom who's mourning the death of her daughter and trying to not find meaning in it, but also like find out who did it. Of course, it's one of those. But also finding meaning somehow in the world around her, finding something to hold on to, because her daughter has been her life. So that aspect of it is, it's heartbreaking and it's impressive the way it's written. I really loved it. I don't love like the twist ideas. Twists are something I don't particularly love. Sometimes it's like it's either interesting, but I saw it coming, or I didn't see it coming, but because it was ridiculous and it made no sense, and I would have never guessed it. So this is one of the second ones, one of those. I just love it. I mean, the darkness of it, the exploration of the meaning of life, the ways in which, in very small details, you can see like the main issue of the town, of the, I mean, there are many issues, but in this particular scenario, the whole thing about girls and women and how they are sometimes more in danger than other people would think. For example, I love this quote. I mean, I don't love it, but it hit hard, even if it's not particularly colorful. Little girls were never safe. I should know. I used to be one of them. That thing about like I was one of them. Like I lived through that. And I don't think you could meet a woman, any woman, that hasn't gone through any kind of trauma. Not just for being a little kid, but a little girl. Continuing with the dark subject matters, I read 13 Reasons Why, and I really loved it. I loved the format. I loved the way it was written. I think it's just so smart in the way he did it. Of course, I had already seen the show, so it wasn't as much of a shock, but I still found myself wanting to know how it was going to work, how things were different from the show. There's a lot of subtlety here that maybe couldn't be fully shown in the show. So that was interesting. I still love the show, I really do. I love that they gave us a little bit more, because the book left me wanting to know more, left me wanting to know some of the consequences, left me wanting to know how Mr. Porter would react, how the parents would react. Every single character is flawed, even like the girl, the boy who is the main character we see the story from, because mainly we focus on Clay. And it's also interesting how he shows Clay as a teenager. It's very much not perfect, even if he's seen as the nice guy, but many people around him, he has these little things that are not nice. It makes it more relatable. It makes it feel more real, more three-dimensional, and I really like that. I mean, there's a concept I absolutely loved that of course was very prominent in the show, but it was this thing like the butterfly effect. Like, this little thing can create an immense amount of pain, of joy even, like the importance of the little things and how we could be maybe a little more conscious and aware of the choices we make and how we relate to each other. Because it makes you, whether you want to or not, I don't know, pay attention to your daily interactions with other people. I really like that. I think books and stories that make us rethink our lives and how we treat each other and what we do and what we prioritize. I think those are the best stories. Speaking of existential, I also read Radio Silence by Oseman. I liked it. I think I would have loved it when I was younger. It's a very much like school girl type of existential crisis. Of course, it has a lot of other details and things that are wonderful. I love the relationships, I love the friendships, I love the relationship between the mother and Francis, who is our main character. I love the characters and I like the story, but it's so focused on this existential crisis they are going through. And I liked it and I enjoyed it, and it's very much a good book. I just couldn't fully relate to that, because it's like when they try to tell you something that would have been groundbreaking at some other time, but now you already know, so it's not a surprise, it's not something you don't know, it's not something you're learning. So in that way, I think it wasn't the book for me at this point in my life. I'm sure if I would have read it earlier, I would have absolutely adored it, because it's my depressed teenage self perfect book, I think. Also with existential crisis, in this case, it's a very much like a current one, and one that I truly felt connected to. So it's like the exact opposite at this time for me. And it's Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. I know she has like a very similar way of writing characters and miscommunication, and she's a very particular taste, but it's a taste I enjoy. I get that it can be repetitive, and I get if people don't want to see the same kind of story again and again. But there's something about what she adds to the story. These speeches and these emails the two main female characters send each other, Alice and Maylene. They are friends and they talk about their feelings and their existential questions, and I love those. I mean, they weren't the most entertaining things in the story, but it gives the story a lot more weight in many other ways. And the miscommunication, even though it's not a trope I like, I think it was well used. It was believable. It brought us to an emotional breakthrough. It brought us to something that I think a lot of people actually struggle with, in a way, with like not being able to say things they want to say in the right way, or being afraid to be vulnerable and show themselves to other people, even people they love, even people they know, even people they've known their whole lives. Being vulnerable is hard. But enough existentialism from me. I love that there is a hopeful message in there. And it's a message I've been struggling with myself. I mean, I like when we talk about the meaning of life, and sometimes we get all these ideas from society and other people that this is what life should be, this is what you should focus on. And in the end, maybe it's just us. It's finding out what makes you happy and trying to hold on to that. I have a quote here, of course, because I'm clearly not doing a good job at explaining it, so we'll give it to the pros. Maybe we're just born to love and worry about the people we know, and go on loving and worrying even when there are more important things we should be doing. Of course, the same way radio silence wasn't for me at this time in my life, maybe this isn't for everyone's specific time in their lives, but it was definitely for me, and so it definitely wins a spot in my top shelf, which is the one where my favorite books are. I also have this mess of a bookshelf here. This is my TBR pile, so someday I'll get there. Someday it will get lower, the tower, or it will get higher and higher, because it's a problem, you know? Buying books that you won't have enough time to read, it's a thing. I'm aware I'm not the only one who suffers from this, and as sufferings go, it's not that bad, is it? That's me. I don't know, maybe this was too long, maybe this was dumb. This is what I can give you right now. Maybe I'll see you soon, maybe I won't, I don't know. This is really up in the air, so bye.